Today we're on here with
Hey, we are live streaming, Todd. It's live, buddy. It's that easy. Hey, we're going to go live here for just a few moments here because, Todd, you and I, we've worked together
for
a
years.
dozen or more times, But a common question that you get from agents at your company, at brokerages all over the place are, why would I have an auction? And you know, a lot of times people may be surprised that I don't always recommend that you have an auction, that an auction may not be suited the best thing for you. First off,
Well,
tell me about you for everybody's joining the stream for the
well,
first time.
I'm Todd Taylor with Keller Williams in Murfreesboro. I've been doing it 14 years, and I have done a little bit of everything. I've done some probate work, and I've done some. I've done a bunch of auctions with Jay. If you go out and they've got a bunch of equity or some equity, and they want rid of it really quick, and they don't want any contingencies or inspections or appraisals, that's an auction all day long. Especially if you go out and they do have some things that they need to get rid of, like a collection or a car collection or a collection of, uh, I don't know, stamps or coins, that sort of thing. Jay can handle all that sort of thing. And usually we get more money, and we have a whole bunch of people standing in the yard. And when you get two people that are going at it, and it doesn't have to appraise, so it can bring a lot of money. And
We've covered a lot right there, Todd. All right, so really, first thing is, not every property is suited for auction. And there's so many more. This afternoon, I turned an auction down. Went and met with some folks Sunday. It wasn't meant to be an auction. They just weren't ready. First thing I would say, if there's no sense of urgency, probably not a necessary reason to have an auction. Would you agree?
I totally agree. If it's motivated sellers that need it rid of it now.
And it's not, you know, I always say, and this is not a sales pitch, but it really is, the finest assets in the world are sold at auctions, from automobiles, racehorses, fine art and jewelry, and real estate makes no exception. When you have a properly advertised and conducted auction, you're going to get the most money for your property in the current market that we're in. And we're having great sales right now. But, you know, I always say that not everybody is meant to have an auction. And really, there's some people, there's no sense of urgency. They've got a dream number or a set number that may not be realistically attainable. And they have no problem just putting it on the market and letting it set for weeks and months. And if that's what they want to do, and they've got a broker that wants to operate that way, then there's nothing wrong with that. But when we come to the table, we set a day and time for when the property is going to be sold. You can sell it with a reserve, but it's not always the best thing to do to sell a property with reserve, and we could talk about that. But really, you know, like you said, if they've got no equity, they're upside down. If they owe more than the property's worth, then there's not much we can do there. Another reason you may not want to have an auction is if you know, you've got a house that's in need of some repairs and you're willing to make every repair necessary. If you've got a foundation that you've got a crack in the foundation or some soft spots in the floor or anything, and most homes are older and in need of some type of repair. And if you're willing to do all of that, then you may be better off to put it on the private market and just sit and wait for a buyer to come with you. What would you add to any of that, Todd, if anything?
Well, I would, if you want to go through all those processes, and if you get into an older home that does have maybe some foundation issues or some updating issues that you really just don't want to do, you're better off having an auction and 30 people standing in your front yard wanting that home would bring more money, and you won't have to do anything to it.
I'd agree with that statement very much so. So, you know, when you're having an auction, the seller sets the terms and conditions. And what I mean by that is that, you know, we're going to sit down with them on all the property you've referred. There's been some properties you've sent me in Williamson County and Gallatin up in, I guess that's Davidson or Sumner. But there's been a few that I've not been so keen on, but you thought that there would be a great demand on, there'd be demand for the property. And that's another reason an auction you might consider it is if there is, you know, if it is a property that's hot and you think that there may be multiple offers coming in, then you bring all those people, make them compete in an auction scenario under the same terms, and The
Mhm.
person that wins is the seller. But when we sit down, you and I, we go in and meet with people. We're never there to talk them into having an auction. I'm there just to only give facts and information for what they could expect when it comes time to, if they decide to have that auction. We're going to sit down. We're going to pick a date and time and set the terms and conditions. Like I said, now typically, if it's a house under $200,000-300,000, I'm going to require a flat fee, and this is all negotiable. But usually, a flat fee is $10,000, and the reason it's $10,000 is that's an easy number. And if you don't have $10,000 to put down, then you probably don't need to be coming to the auction to begin with. But $10,000 down, the balance is due in 30 days. It's not subject to an appraisal by the bank. It's not subject to getting any kind of home inspections or repairs, and it's not subject to somebody just changing their mind, because if that were to happen, you would forfeit your $10,000 earnest money deposit. And it gives the seller complete certainty that they're getting the most money for the property when it's advertised and conducted professionally. What's been your experience when you have gone to auction? What have you seen? What's the outcome been more times than not?
More times than not, we have a whole bunch of people there. We've got it brings more than what we thought. The seller is very happy because we got to wherever it is where they were wanting to be. The buyer got a deal because they outbid everybody else in the auction, and everybody was happy at the end of the day, and it closed on them before 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. But I always go back. Not every property is suited for auction. There are some folks that they're just not ready to hear what their property is going to bring in the current market. And those are the folks that I'd rather them list the property. Most agents ask me, what should I do first? And there's a big sentiment in the auction industry that you need to auction the property first. And I don't agree with that. I think that if you've got a client, if you're a realtor, you've got a client and you think an auction may be a possibility for them, but they're not quite ready to get that realistic what the property is actually worth, go ahead and list it. List the property for 3 months, 6 months, because when you come back to me in 3 or 6 months and the property hasn't sold yet, then they're going to be a little more accepting that, hey, I'm probably asking too much for my house or farm or whatever it may be. And I always let the seller make their decisions. We're never there to talk them into giving their property away or anything like that. We're there to get them the most money they can, and that's what's going to happen when you have a properly advertised and conducted auction. Property that's in need of repair, Todd, we've sold them where they're just about to fall down, and we've sold homes that are move-in ready. What do you think the common theme is for some of our sellers when they've considered an auction? Why is it you even bring me to the table sometimes?
I bring you to the table because I have a motivated seller who wants rid of it, and they want rid of it for the most amount of money they can get as quick as possible. We've done a ton of auctions, and anytime I bring you in, they're motivated enough to do anything we ask them to do. But the easiest process is for them to have an auction. To get the most amount of money. And when you have 30 or 40 or, we had one over in Nolensville 2 years ago, 3 years ago that I thought we were going to have to direct traffic from Franklin.
Yes.
I mean, there was a ton of people there.
It really was. I remember that sale. It was a great day for us. Talk to people that are watching here, how the referral process works. What have you experienced as far as, how do you get paid, and what's that been like? Do you feel a big disconnect when you turn it over, or
no? Absolutely not. As a realtor, I turn that over to you and refer that to you. You keep me informed every step of the way on what's going on with the buyer and the seller, and I'm usually there to hold their hand. I'm there day of auction to hold their hand to make sure that goes well, make sure they understand everything that's going on from the time you start bidding calling till the day it closes, to keep me informed and to we make our money, and usually I make a little more money than I would have normally made, but you take care of everything.
That's what we're trying to do. We want to be completely transparent from start to finish. We want to take care of the referring broker. We want to take care of the seller and answer every question that there may possibly be. There's no greater reward than at the end of the day when the seller looks at us, and it happens 99% of the time. They say, Jay, this was the best decision we've ever made. We are so thankful we did this. You made it so easy. It would be absurd to say that stress isn't involved. I don't like to say stress. I like to say there's a little bit of nerves or anxiousness because sellers are anxious to find out just how much their property is going to bring. And that's the fun part when we get to show them all the money at the end of the auction. And likewise for buyers, they all know they're on a level playing field. That if they show up, that if they do their due diligence and have their earnest money deposit ready, that they can buy the property for a realistic price. They don't have to play games and wonder what the other person's offering because everybody's on a level playing field. And Todd, you've just been a great asset for our company. You've referred many agents at your company, and my entire team thanks you for all of the several years that we've been able to work together. And I can't wait till we get together and have another big auction.
Well, the feeling is mutual. You've got a army of great people, auctioneers and helpers that come along all the way from the cashier to the other auctioneers that are helping with the auction to make the entire process a smooth and good process. From everybody gets a win-win on both sides of the deal.
Well, I appreciate you clicking on here. Everybody's giving their prediction on COVID-19. You know, the Middle Tennessee market's still very, very strong. Do you think it's going to catch up to us here in a few months, or are we just what if and for no reason? Do you think what's your thought?
Well, I've been at home for 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
And today I have made 25 phone calls to either buyers or sellers or agents that are either wanting to come on to my team, or they either want me to help them sell a house or help them buy a house. And we're getting about 100 leads a month out of what's called Commissions Inc. The online, you know, we got people that are sitting in their house ready to move. We listed a house last week on Thursday, and I've already had 4 showings since then. So it has not slowed down at all.
That seems to be the common thread with everybody I'm talking to. Hey, thanks for logging on. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you all for watching our live stream this afternoon.
Good deal. Thank you.